Hi guys, just before you watch the video, we wanted to put a bit of an explanation in as to why we've made this video or remade it, because we've actually done something similar before. We've noticed on social media that there's quite a lot of confusion about exhaust elbows in cast iron mated to various engines, not just Volvo Pentas, the D1s and D2s and what have you, but also other engines, and all marine engines suffer with this problem, and there's an explanation as to why they do in this video. By the way, the scraping you can hear is the wife. She's scraping the hull just to get rid of a few of those infernal tube worms that grow here in the Med. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment at the end, and hopefully this will save someone's engine, or at least save their heat exchanger or exhaust elbow before it causes major damage. Enjoy the video. This is a blocked exhaust injection elbow. This is where the water's injected, and that's blocked. This is what the elbow looked like after it had been dipped in acid and cleaned off. This is the heat exchanger that exhaust elbow was fitted to, and the big hole at the bottom is where the coolant was leaking into the exhaust. If this had carried on, then it would have bent a conrod, and the conrod would have come outside of the engine. In this video, we'll show you how to avoid all of these problems. In this episode, we look at what we believe is one of the major causes of marine diesels failure. Most marine diesels in leisure boats have a water-cooled or wet exhaust. The exhaust gases from the manifold are mixed in a mixing elbow with raw water from the heat exchanger and then injected out through the exhaust pipe. The hot gases hitting the cool water form carbonisation or carbon build-up within the exhaust. And here's some examples. This is from a Volvo Penta MD 2020. There was just 12mm of clearance through the exhaust. And the next two pictures are from a Volvo Penta D1 30B. There was hardly any clearance inside the exhaust, less than 5mm, and the water injection point on the elbow was almost completely clogged. Now, I'm not singling out Volvo engines. It happens to many marine diesels, more so the non-turboed engines and those with cast iron water injection elbows. This can increase back pressure in the exhaust and even put water into the manifold.
My gosh, that is unbelievable.
I've never seen one that bad. You are so lucky you didn't destroy that engine. Well, not you personally, but
the whole of the sleeve has gone on the side as well.
Yeah. Wow.
That's probably because I was tapping the other.
It's important to say that there was little or no indication that this exhaust injection elbow was in such a sorry state, or that it was leaking into the manifold heat exchanger. And if you look at the actual holes, as soon as Pete started to clean it up, it disintegrated. Now this is the heat exchanger manifold, and that bottom oval hole shouldn't be there. So how does this work? Well, the exhaust gases come out of the combustion chamber via the exhaust valve. They travel through the heat exchanger, where they are surrounded by coolant and fresh water. The heat is exchanged with the raw water and then pumped out through the exhaust. You see the dotted line there? Well, I've put a section at the bottom to show you roughly what you'll be seeing in some of the photos. In this diagram, I've put the exhaust injection elbow in position on the heat exchanger so that you can see where the exhaust gases come out. Now the hole that's in the heat exchanger is roughly here. At this point, the wall of the heat exchanger is quite thin and it's cast aluminium, or aluminum as you Americans say. Not all of this hot corrosive raw water can get away, and mixed with the exhaust gases it tends to sit in the elbow or just before the elbow in the heat exchanger, where it corrodes through the heat exchanger and causes a link between the cast iron and the cast aluminium, at which point a hole forms. This hole allows coolant or fresh water into the exhaust elbow, but more importantly exhaust gases and raw water back the other way when the engine is turned off. The atmosphere inside this exhaust elbow becomes highly corrosive. Added to the fact that all of the exhaust gases can't get away and you're not getting a clean burn, well, it's very detrimental to the engines. Coolant and raw water can then get back into the engine through the exhaust ports and actually flow down into the bores. When the piston comes up, a liquid cannot be compressed and this causes the conrod to break. When a conrod breaks, it usually ends up coming out through the side of the engine, but at the very least it breaks the crank, and this means catastrophic failure. The engine will either have to be completely rebuilt or replaced. This is our new water injection elbow, which is stainless steel, and the reason we're replacing it is the Volvo Penta non-turbo engines tend to clog up in here, and I'll show you a picture of one that's clogged up because I have one, and our engine's done about 800 hours. We know that it was partially blocked because we took it off last season and had a look, and it was okay to carry on, but we're going to take it off and replace it because these ones will clean out with acid much better being stainless steel rather than cast iron. So exhaust gases come in here from the exhaust manifold and then go down this pipe. There's a water injection hose goes on there, which comes through your heat exchanger, which is about here, comes through here in there, and then gets injected in a hole, a little hole down there, I don't know if you can see it, and into the exhaust and then out the transom. That's the injection elbow point, or injection point. This is the exhaust, and there's 4 bolts here that we've got to undo and 4 Jubilee clips to get this off. So Jubilee clips off first, and I'm using a socket, small socket, rather than a screwdriver.
Better purchase. Yeah,
better purchase, and if you slip you're not going to damage any of the hose or pipes or cables in here, and it is quite tight.
Yeah, good idea.
So now I'm going to take off the Jubilee clips on the injection hose. To make it easier, I'm going to take the air filter off and give me some room to get some purchase.
Is there anything in the air filter?
Yeah, there's Volvo, in their infinite wisdom, actually made an air filter that you can't replace the air filter element.
No, you have to replace the whole plastic.
The whole thing, which is about £50. Call it a silencer box as well. I guess there's quite a bit of induction noise, but Volvo in their wisdom sealed up the box. You can't get in there, so you have to buy a complete new box at about £50, I think they are,
for the simple filter inside.
Paper filter that's probably about £2, £2 British to buy. Okay, so here it's coming off now.
You're pulling it off the studs.
Just literally dropping it off the studs. We get it in the light. you can see with this camera that the diameter of it is reduced by probably ½ an inch in the worst place and ¼ of an inch in the best place. So let's look at some of the classic symptoms. Soot in the raw water or in the exhaust water is really a telltale sign that the engine is not breathing correctly, and that's normally a blocked exhaust elbow or partially blocked. A lack of power, the coolant going down with no leaking found on the outside of the engine, the coolant bottle cap blowing off, a lack of cooling water in the exhaust, poor starting or even overheating. Okay, and the one that's on the back of the heat exchanger, which is the one I'm doing now, the back of the heat exchanger is plastic, not metal. Right. So you've got to be careful. Don't over tighten. Don't crush it. Okay, so now I need to get a piece of rag in there and just clean that up. You've got a piece of towel. Piece of paper towel. So last thing is, and this is the bit that everybody finds difficult,
putting the pipe back on.
Is putting the pipe back on. But with that little,
it's gone stiff and brittle with age, I guess.
Yeah. But mine goes on fine.
Is it on?
It's on. So we've got 2 Jubilee clips, and we just do them up. One about ½ an inch or so, 12mm from the end of the pipe.
Yeah. And the other one down at the base.
And then the other one, yeah, about ½ inch to ¾ of an inch away from that. And what we do is put the Jubilee clip heads away from each other in opposite directions, right, so that the compression is uniform around the pipe. So I think what we'll do before we put the exhaust box back on, that's it all done, sorry, the air box on, what we'll do is we'll run it without the air box, right, make sure we haven't got any leaks. Let's go. Right, Cindy, can you start the engine? Okay. Good flow. Perfect. Side by side, you can see this hole here is
over ½ an inch.
Over ½ an inch. Yeah, well over ½ an inch. And this one is fairly badly clogged up. I would say it's lost half of its capability.
Is that better?
That's better, yeah. And then if we look down the business end, the exhaust end, David, and compare those two, this one is significantly reduced in diameter to compare with that one. And then at the other end where the exhaust injects, you can see the difference there.
Dramatically.
It really is quite dramatic, and that's just 1,000 hours. And as you know, I run my engines hard, so that's on a similar boat. On a similar boat, it would be much worse.
So it's been idling a lot of the time.
Yeah, yeah. Why does this happen on marine diesels? When a large diesel engine is fitted to a truck or a car, the manifold can glow red hot, and this burns most of the carbon away. Sometimes you can even see sparks coming out the exhaust, if the engine's working hard. On a marine diesel, the exhaust gases are cooled very rapidly in the exhaust elbow, and this causes the carbonisation. Seawater also contains a lot of calcium, and when this solidifies in the exhaust, it blocks it up. So, just to recap, if your injection elbow gets blocked here, or even here, water may get into your exhaust manifold and into the valves, and then possibly into the bores. At the very least, the engine will run bad, you'll have back pressure and a lack of cooling water. Well, I do hope that's cleared some of the confusion that there seems to be on the Wonder Web about exhaust elbows and heat exchangers rotting away. Fundamentally, the problem is to do with hot gases, hot exhaust gases, and also to do with raw water, salt water, of course, which is highly corrosive. You have, yes, got two dissimilar metals. You've got a cast aluminium or aluminum and cast iron, but that's not primarily the issue. When you replace with a stainless steel exhaust elbow, it makes it better, but it doesn't go away. You still need to check your exhaust elbows at least every 800 hours or so. That's probably every 3 years. If you're using your engine at low revs, then a lot, then you need to check it more regularly. Now let's just briefly talk about the heat exchangers. Yes, you can weld aluminum. It is by a professional. It's fairly easy as long as he uses the right type of rods. Some of the aluminium that has a high copper content needs to be welded at slightly higher temperatures, but a good welder will know what this is. The problems are that at this point it is extremely thin. The heat exchangers are very thin, and you can get a lot of what they call burn through. The other thing is that it needs to be spotlessly clean, ground back with a Dremel or a die grinder in order to make that area good for welding. And I've heard of people putting plastic poop, JB Weld, all sorts in there, and yeah, that may work. That may be a temporary solution that works for you, but the problem is that if it fails and you get water in your engine, that's it. Goodbye engine. It'll break a conrod, at least damage a valve, and if it comes out through the side of your engine, that's the block written off. So just pay attention to your engines, service them. They go to a lot of trouble to make service schedules that you stick to, and if you do that and keep a good eye on your engine, it'll probably outlast you, or at least outlast the boat. Until next time, guys, I hope this has helped you and perhaps saved someone's engine. Sail safe. Bye for now.